Let's be real. Every project is a bit of a leap into the unknown, right? It's filled with potential curveballs and unexpected turns. But what if you could actually navigate all that uncertainty with confidence? Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down the entire process of risk management step by step so you can learn how to master project uncertainty instead of just reacting to it.
Here's how we're going to tackle this. We'll start with why we even have to deal with uncertainty in the first place. Then we'll dive into the practical stuff, how to find, measure, and respond to risks. And we'll finish up with a really powerful shift in thinking that can actually help you turn risk into an advantage. Sound good? Let's jump in. All right, first things first. Why is this so critical? It's because no matter how perfectly you planned, no matter how detailed your Gantt chart is, every single project has unknown elements. So the first, most important step is just to look that reality straight in the eye and acknowledge it. I want you to think about a project you're working on right now. What's that one thing that kind of keeps you up at night? Is it a sudden budget cut, a key person on your team quitting, maybe a new competitor popping up out of nowhere? We all have that list in the back of our heads. Today, we're going to bring it right out into the open. So let's get on the same page with a clear definition. A project risk is really just the possibility of something happening that could hurt your project. It's an event that might occur, and if it does, it's going to have an effect on your timeline, your budget, or your final goal.
And this quote really nails a crucial idea. The point of risk management isn't to have a crystal ball and predict the future perfectly. Nope. It's all about understanding what could go wrong so you can be ready for it. It's about preparation, not prediction.
The whole process really boils down to this powerful four-stage loop. First, you identify the risks. Then, you figure out which ones matter most. After that, you plan how to respond. And finally, you keep an eye on things and adjust as you go. Notice I said loop. It's not a straight line. You're going to revisit these steps over and over. So, let's start with number 1. Okay, now we're rolling up our sleeves and getting practical. You can't manage a risk you don't even know exists, right? So this first step is all about making the invisible visible. It's about pulling all those potential problems out of the shadows and into the light where you can deal with them. So, where do these risks come from? Generally, you can put them in 2 big buckets. You've got your internal risks. These are the things inside your project or company that you can actually influence. You know, things like your budget, your team's skills, that kind of thing. Then you've got external risks. These are the tough ones. They come from the outside world. Market shifts, new laws, even bad weather. You have way less control over these. Okay, so how do you actually find all these risks? Well, you've got a whole toolkit you can use. You can hold brainstorming sessions with your team. You can and should look back at past projects to see what went wrong there. A SWOT analysis is a fantastic tool for this. And maybe most importantly, talk to your key stakeholders. They almost always see things from an angle you've missed.
Now, all this great information needs a home, a single source of truth. And that, my friends, is your risk log. Think of it as your project's command center. Every single risk you identify goes in here. And this is not a document you create and then file away to gather dust. No way. It's a living, breathing tool you'll be using for the entire project.
All right, so you've done your homework, and now you have this long, maybe even scary list of potential risks. Now what? You can't possibly tackle everything at once. So the next step is to analyze them so you can focus your limited time and energy on what really, truly matters.
You can measure pretty much every risk along 2 really simple lines. First, there's probability. What are the odds this thing will actually happen? And second, there's impact. If it does happen, how bad is it going to be? Just getting a handle on these 2 factors is the key to everything that comes next.
And this is where it gets really useful. You take those 2 ideas, probability and impact, and you plot them on a grid, a risk matrix like this one. Suddenly, it all becomes clear. The stuff that lands in that top right corner, the high probability, high impact risks, that's your red zone. Those are the critical few you need to focus on right now. It takes the guesswork out of it.
The math behind this is super simple, but so powerful. You just multiply the 2 scores. A high probability of 3 times a high impact of 3 gets you a risk score of 9. That's critical. A low probability of 1 times a low impact of 1 is just 1. This little formula is what transforms that messy, long list into a clean, ranked, actionable plan. Okay, so you know your priorities. You know which risks are the big, scary ones. Now it's time for the million-dollar question. What are you actually going to do about them? This is where we shift from just thinking and analyzing to taking real action. When you're facing down a potential threat, you've basically got 4 main strategies in your playbook. You can try to avoid it, mitigate it, transfer it, or just plain accept it. Let's quickly run through what each of those really means. First up, you can avoid the risk. This is the most direct approach. It means you actually change your project plan to make sure the risk can't happen at all. For example, if some new software is proving to be super buggy and unreliable, you might just switch your plan and go with a more stable, proven technology instead. Problem solved. Next, and this is probably the one you'll use most often, is to mitigate. Here, you can't get rid of the risk completely, but you take smart, proactive steps to make it less likely to happen or less painful if it does. This could be anything from doing extra quality testing to providing more training for your team. Your third option is to transfer the risk. This doesn't make the risk vanish, but it shifts the consequences to someone else. The classic example here is buying insurance, but it could also mean hiring a specialist firm to handle a particularly tricky part of the project that's outside your team's expertise. You're essentially paying someone else to worry about it. And finally, sometimes the smartest move is to just accept the risk. You look at it and realize that the cost of trying to fix it is actually way higher than the potential damage it could cause. So you make a conscious choice to do nothing for now, but you keep it on your radar and monitor it. This is usually for your low priority stuff. And this brings us to what might be the single most important point of this whole thing. Risk management is not a set it and forget it activity. It's not a checklist you tick off at the beginning of a project. The world changes, your project evolves, so your risk plan has to be a living, breathing part of how you manage week in and week out. Think about how risk changes over time. At the very beginning of a project, there are a ton of unknowns, right? So the probability, the chance of certain risks happening is pretty high. But as you move forward, as you learn more and make progress, a lot of that uncertainty disappears, and so does the likelihood of those risks. But, and this is a huge but, there's a flip side. At the start of the project, the impact of a risk might be pretty low. You haven't invested a lot of time or money yet. Fast forward 6 months, though, and that exact same problem could be catastrophic because now you have so much more to lose. This is why you can never stop monitoring. So let's bring this all home by shifting our perspective a little bit. You see, the best project managers out there, they know that risk management isn't just about playing defense and avoiding bad things. It's about building a project that's strong, resilient, and ready to pounce on opportunities. And that's the final thought I really want to leave you with. Next time you're looking at your risk log, ask yourself this: what opportunity could my biggest risk be hiding? Because sometimes that thing that feels like a massive threat is actually guarding a chance for innovation, a breakthrough, or huge success. A truly proactive risk process doesn't just protect your project, it actually makes it better.